Hello there all you beautiful people and welcome to another game review with your buddy Dan. Today we take a look at the second game in the series of Skyhill from the developer of Mandragora called Skyhill Black Mist. It's an action adventure that boasts about non-linear exploration and a kind of play it your own way approach to the game. So let's jump into the review and see what Skyhill Black Mist is all about. If you want a TLDR version of this review, it's that it at least for me reminds me of the movie Taken mixed with The Last of Us. Are you still here? Great, then let me explain a bit more about the game. It starts off with you waking up inside a huge interconnected building conglomerate and get a phone call from your daughter that seems to be in trouble.
Dad, we were at Brandy's party, and there's some people. They broke in and started shooting everyone. I'm scared. Please help.
To add more depth to the story, you find her diary and torn out pages in your home. For me, that is a weird place to keep a diary, since most owners of diaries usually keep them pretty hidden. But anyway, it gives you a glimpse of why you live where you do and why it seems to be no mother present. On your search for your daughter, you are quickly introduced to one of the main enemies. Spice that up with some crazy cultists and you have yourself one heck of a challenge to save your family.
Oh, we found her.
Stay away from my daughter.
Yes.
You are dead. You hear me? Dead!
If you can.
So with that being said, and to let you find out more about the story for yourself, let's look at how the game looks and feels. The game revolves around you most of the time, sneaking around with the well-known mechanic of 2 little bullets to really shoot everything that is dangerous, so sneaking is usually how you move around in the game. During this sneaking around you will find blueprints to further enhance your ways of dealing with spooky enemies. You learn early on to craft shanks, and in what for me feels a bit like playing a low poly version of The Last of Us, you can then sneak up from behind and vanquish your foes and turn them back to humans. Dead, but still humans, and that is okay, right? But to be able to create all these fancy things, you need to find crafting materials. These are scattered around the different floors you investigate. As expected, are places with good loot, full of enemies, so you better keep the gun holster to not alarm everyone of your presence. And to drop another The Last of Us reference, your shank can be used to open locked doors. The place I found most exciting and also the best good looking part is these where you sneak around with only a flashlight to aid you and you have to focus on hearing the monsters to know where you are going. For me, after playing for about an hour, you get pretty used to dark monsters and start really just crouch walking past them, and then of course they introduce even bigger and more scary monsters.
On the other side. What is this thing? It's different. Better stay away.
The audio of enemies are good. They remind me of clickers. The soundtrack is well written and the exciting part of the game are heightened by background music. The voice acting is good and they don't feel misplaced or overacting for the most of the time. Okay, so now let's talk about the full experience of Skyhill Black Mist. I was happily surprised how the simplicity in graphics backed up with good voice acting and a good musical soundtrack make it a fun experience to play. I would not use the term rough around the edges because it's an indie game. As many people usually use that term to describe them, I would rather say its sums of all parts are a great step for an upcoming game studio. A thing to mark on would be that there is no real way to escape if you get your enemies too close, since you can't pull out your gun in that scenario. So if you have no melee weapon left, you often just have to accept your fate and die. So a good old decent push nudge action would make it easier to handle. There are some places where you have to backtrack in the game since materials are limited, so you might find a door you can't pry open and then have to remember that to the next time you have enough material for creating that tool. Don't expect it to be a run and gun type of game because it's not, and the pacing could be a bit faster, but then if it would become way harder to play, you would probably lose the initial thought and feel of what the developers had in mind. We can end this review by saying that the game feels, as I mentioned before, as a homage to the movie Taken and the game The Last of Us. So what are your initial thoughts about the game? I'm Dan. It has been a pleasure showing you this game today. If you want to know more about the game, I'll leave their Steam page and webpage down in the description below. If you liked today's review, how about you leave a like or a comment? And until next time, stay safe and stay awesome.